Hey there! Today we're going to be talking about this pen. It's the Aeon model by Ashera, a new brand that I was quite excited about. It has already been reviewed by some other people, so look at some other reviews too. I was contacted by Ashera. They asked me if I wanted to review one of their pens. I said absolutely. I'm going to say straight off the bat, it's not an inexpensive pen. But there is quite a lot going with this brand. For example, for every pen they sell, they plant 100 trees, carbon offset, etc. I think that's a very nice initiative. So beyond that, I think the eye for detail is great. Really attractive pen. So I'll tilt the camera down. I'll give you a better look, closer look that things are not moving around the whole time. And then we'll discuss the pen. So I'll cover the parts of the pen, I'll do a writing sample, I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. There will be quite a bit to talk about. So let's get started straight away. Okay, so here we go with this Ashera Aeon. It comes in a beautiful wooden box. I'm not entirely sure what wood this is. I should have asked, but I forgot. Looks a bit walnut-y to me, but I don't know if it is. Pen fits in very nicely, held together with magnets or closed with magnets, really quite nice. I think it's really attractive. Now, I'm just because this pen has no clip, it rolls. As I talk about it, I'm just going to leave it in here for a sec, so it won't roll off my desk. I had a Zoom conversation with the founder of the brand, so he talked to him a bit. There's a couple of things I will say about this pen, and then we're going to look at all the parts. But give me a minute because there's quite a lot to talk about. So the Aeon, they're limiting to 999 pens. It's 18 centimeters closed, so that's a pretty nice size. There are different woods available. So this is the light Buckeye burl. Now I'm going to talk you through their pricing. It looks to me on the website right now, and this was pricing in US dollars. Holly and olive oil start at 695 US. Then you have elm, which adds 150, walnut, which adds 210, light Buckeye burl, which is what this is, 290, so add 290, and then dark Buckeye burl adds $360. So as you can see, the price adds up fairly quickly, right? I really like the Buckeye burl. It's been used in indigenous traditions. It's also used to treat inflammation. And what I thought was a nice touch as well on top of these things, which is really quite great, is that these are trees that line Bavarian beer gardens. And I, having been to Bavaria a number of times, that evoked a really powerful image in me. Because I've been there, I've seen it, I know exactly what they're talking about. It is a brand based a little bit outside of Munich, which is in Bavaria, right? So anyway, so we have that. There's a titanium grip. I'll show you that in just a second. You have your choice of nib, either gold nib, which is included, finer medium, or platinum nib, which adds $50, finer medium. And then you have a name engraving option on the section, which is another $20. So you do the math on what this would cost. Again, I've said this at the start, it's not cheap pens, but the company plants 100 trees for every pen they sell, which I think is a really nice environmentally sensitive initiative. They also have a system where you can get your pen, try it for €29.95 euros a month. And then after 12 months, if you own it, or if you don't end up, you end up not liking it, well then you send it back, which is kind of cool too. They're handmade. They're handmade in Germany, so it is a German product. It's made, in my mind, in a very German sense, to very high specifications. I have really enjoyed it. So that was the sort of the background of the creation process. Let's cover the parts of the pen. I will try to zoom in a little bit. You know what I should have done first? Sorry. I'll just show you the size of the pen while it's in that box, kind of convenient, next to a Pilot Metropolitan. So a big pen is what I'm saying, right? It's not a tiny little pen. I'm going to zoom in a bit. and give you that pen more up close. That Buckeye burl, I love it. I'm trying to sort of slowly rotate this to show off the material the best way I can. I do think it is very attractive. I do think it looks very good. They obviously lacquer the wood, which I'm quite happy with. I live in a very dry climate, so that's quite nice. It also helps fill in any kind of holes you may have in the wood. I'm not a woodworker, so there are other people who undoubtedly have much more to say about that than I do, but that is an interesting side effect. Marius, the owner of the brand, creator of the brand, he did talk to me about some other projects they're working on. I don't want to give away any trade secrets, obviously, but I mean, they are also working on a more modestly priced model. So everybody is aware that this is a very expensive pen, and maybe some other writing options as well. So not just fountain pen, but other writing options. Okay, so we have it. The cap unscrews and easily. I don't even think it's a full turn. Oh, sorry, no, I think I was unscrewing the section there. It's not even a full turn, so it's very easy to uncap. And I found this even with one hand, it's easy to uncap, which is quite nice. Then we have that titanium section. Mine is engraved with my name, which is a nice touch. It's very sweet that they did that. And then we have the gold nib. The nibs are made by B.R.E. If I remember correctly, it certainly looks like a B.R.E. nib and feed. I have S.B.R.E. brown in it. That's why it looks. There's some brown bits on it. That ink can have a little bit of. The name eludes me. Not nib creep, but sometimes you get some nib crud, some that's just the dye and the sort of orangey dye in the ink. So that's not a part of the pen. Just wanted to make that clear. 14 karat gold, so it says 14K 585 for the gold content. This is the medium nib. Again, find a medium in the options you have. It's unmarked, and I kind of like that, to be honest, because it looks very clean, and I think that fits the overall aesthetic of the pen quite nicely. There is, it says Ashera there on the section at the bottom. I don't know if you can read it, but it is there. And on the other side, there's nothing. You can unscrew the whole section, and then there is a cartridge converter, Schmidt cartridge converter, very simple. Schmidt makes a lot of them, and they're very good at it, so that's always great. Then here we have the threads. There is a bit of a step down, as you can see. I don't find it unpleasant. The threads are not sharp, and the step down, you feel it. I think I felt sharper, but because the section is quite big, I mean, look at my finger and then look at that section. I haven't had any issues with that step down. It's a big pen, as I said. It's large, but it's very light because of the wood. It has a very nice balance because of that titanium section, and I haven't had any issues with this. People with smaller hands said, oh, it's too big for me. It's not particularly excessively girthy, but it's not too skinny either. I think they did a really nice job on the proportions of this pen. Now, before I write, can you post it? Sort of. Do you want to? I don't think so. I don't want to scratch the lacquer of the barrel with the metal part of the inside of the cap. So I will not, but if you absolutely must post, well then I guess you can. Don't come to me when everything scratches up though. Okay, let's do some writing. I shall zoom in a bit more. Maybe even a little more. There we go. Here we have the Ashera Aeon. We have a medium 14K nib, and the ink is, of course, the GOAT, S.B.R.E. brown. Pleasant writer, Fox, I can't write, sorry, jumps. Smooth. The nib is a little bit on the dry side for me personally, so I will be making a little bit wetter, but for the review I obviously left it as it was out of the box. It certainly writes. a bit of fast writing. But it could be a little bit wetter for me. Still, it's pretty nice. This is definitely a nice medium nib, I found. I found it actually a little bit on the broader end of things. I've seen finer medium, so that was quite nice. Always very careful. As you can see, if you really want to, you can squeeze out a bit of line variation, but it's not advertised as a flex nib, so don't go flexing it like crazy because it will spring. Okay, what about reverse writing for those who enjoy such a thing? Works pretty well and does turn the medium into a nice fine, I would say. So, not bad at all. Let's discuss some likes and dislikes. So what do I like? What do I not like about this Ashera Aeon? There's a couple of things that I really like. I think it's beautifully made. They've picked some really nice woods for it. I think it is very, very solidly made. It's very comfortable and it's very pleasant to use. I was really pleasantly surprised by the size, because when I saw this online, I thought it would be a considerably smaller pen. But I mean, it really is not, it's not small, but nor is it obscenely large. I think this is a size, especially given the tapered section, I think this is a size that's going to work for a lot of people. So I think that they hit that sweet spot of nice, big enough to show off the interesting material, because it's not just another plastic pen, nor is it another swirly acrylic. I have nothing against swirly acrylic. In fact, I'm a bit of a sucker for that. Wood is interesting. Now, if you have an interesting material like that, you want to show it off, so that it's bigger, I think works very well. I find it a very, very pleasant writer. Now, the one of two, okay? The one negative I found with it is the nib dries out overnight, even, so fairly quickly the nib dries out. I've had a close look at this cap. It's very well constructed. I don't believe there really is a lot of potential for air leaks, but bear in mind, this is a B.R.E nib. I'm fairly sure, it's a number 6 nib, I'm fairly sure the same nib and feed, or at least very similar feed, has been used on the classic pens LM1. I don't think it was an identical feed, it was similar, also B.R.E, also number 6. Exact same issue I have with that. So I wouldn't call that an issue with the pen. I don't think it's something in the cap not being airtight. I think it's just a matter of these, some of these B.R.E feeds, these very round ones, have a very open construction, and I have the feeling that just causes them to dry out. Quick prime with the converter, and it writes beautifully. And when it writes fantastically. I may make it just the tiniest bit wetter for my personal preferences, but that's not very difficult to do. And out of the box it writes. It's just that I think for me it could be a little bit wetter. But again, that's a personal preference thing. The other thing I will say is, I mean, let's not mince words. It's not a cheap pen. It's an expensive pen. Now, it's not, sorry, it's not my job here to justify a company's pricing policies, but what I will say, and whether you agree with that, that's up to you. What I will say is, it's a new brand. They're starting out. They're making these pens one by one. This is not a machine-made pen. I mean, yes, the lathe is involved. Yeah, but I mean, it's not like an automatic process where they just churn out 100 of these a day. It is a limited run. Whether you find that justifies the price or not, that's obviously up to you. Given that they're working with wood, given that they're working with some difficult wood that has some holes in it, it's not necessarily easy to work with that. That they make them by hand, that they lacquer them, they do all that, and they create a product that works very well, in my mind looks very well. I think that does warrant a somewhat higher price. Now, again, it's not a cheap pen. Whether it warrants a price this high, that's up for you to decide, and I'm not going to tell you what to think. I think it's very attractive, and I do think if you are looking for a luxury pen, we are talking gold nib or platinum nib if you so desire. It comes with a nice wooden storage box. We are talking about interesting woods. We are talking about good craftsmanship and really nice lacquering work, because the shininess on this is pretty remarkable, while still showing off the wood, the wood grain, like all that kind of stuff. I can see how that would contribute to the price. So I will say that in the brand's defense. And again, new brand, they have to figure out the pricing strategy. They have to figure out the overhead cost. They have to figure out all these kinds of things. They have to put themselves on the map, right? That kind of advertising also costs money. It gets factored into the price. Now, some people say, justifying the price. I'm not trying to justify the price. I'm just saying these are some of the considerations I had as I was using this product. But at the end of the day, it's an expensive pen, end of story. There we are. It may not be worth it for everyone. I could see it though. If you're looking for something luxurious, it's an interesting thing to try out, because it's not yet another machine-made pen in precious resin, and you know what I'm talking about. So, there we are. I hope this was worth it. I kindly thank Ashera for sending me this pen, for sharing their product with me. I have had a lot of fun writing with it. It's a really comfortable pen. It's a really beautiful writer. So thank you very much. And that's the end of it. I don't have anything else. So I hope that was useful, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye!